In just one night, the man once hailed as the loyal blade of the royal court became a fugitive, hunted like a wild beast. Than Long, former commander of the Imperial Brocade Guards, was forced to turn his blade against those he once called brothers. What had happened? Could it be that behind it all lay a shocking conspiracy veiled in shadows? It all began with a cruel tradition of the feudal dynasties. To protect the throne, kings would gather orphans and train them to become invisible assassins, killing machines known as the Brocade Guards. Among them, the strongest would rise to become the commander of the guards. After many generations, that title fell to Than Long, a peerless warrior wielding the legendary weapon passed down through the ages, the Grand Ming Cross Formation. This weapon included a box of 14 rare blades, crafted specifically for interrogation missions. One of them, the Assist Heaven Accomplished Duty blade, was reserved for suicide in case of mission failure. In times of peace, the Brocade Guards served as royal bodyguards, protecting the emperor. But under a tyrannical ruler, they became ruthless instruments of death. The story unfolds during the declining years of the Ming dynasty. The cowardly emperor was obsessed with executions, leaving power in the hands of corrupt eunuchs. Among them, the powerful Jia Jingzhong conspired with Prince Qing, an exiled noble, plotting to usurp the throne and rule the empire. To carry out the plan, Jia Jingzhong forged an imperial edict and ordered Than Long to lead the guards to arrest Grand Tutor Zhao Shenyan under accusations of treason and retrieve the royal box said to conceal a great secret. Though Than Long doubted the command, seeing the hidden jade seal on the edict left him no choice. At Zhao Shenyan's estate, the Grand Tutor had caught wind of the plot and tried to send his family away. But before they could flee, the guards surrounded the residence. He helped his wife and daughter escape through the back while heading to the study with a few loyal men. There, he found Than Long calmly waiting. Without a word, Than Long spun his sword like a blur and cut down all the guards. He then demanded the box. Zhao Shenyan refused, declaring he'd rather die than hand it over. Than Long ordered his daughter brought forth to pressure him. Although shaken, Zhao Shenyan stayed silent. When Than Long whispered something into the girl's ear, Zhao panicked, thinking she had betrayed him. He rushed to retrieve the box. But it was too late. It was a trap. Zhao then drew out a jade piece from the box, the Royal Imperial Jade, and warned that if it fell into the hands of traitors, the nation would fall. But to Than Long, orders were absolute. He ignored the warning and reached for the jade. Suddenly, an arrow flew in from outside, striking Zhao unconscious and seriously wounding Than Long, while the jade was snatched away. Upon awakening, he discovered his men were all dead. He had been betrayed. Injured and alone, Than Long escaped, determined to uncover the truth. The shocking truth hit him hard. The traitor behind the massacre was none other than Xuan Wu, a once close comrade in the Brocade Guards. The elite warriors Bai Hu and Zhu Ke were also captured in the betrayal. Furious, they confronted Xuan Wu, who had betrayed and sold out his own brothers. Zhu Ke, given a sword, engaged Xuan Wu in a desperate duel inside the prison. Though a master swordsman, Zhu Ke was shackled and couldn't fight at full strength. He was brutally slain by Xuan Wu as Bai Hu watched in horror. When Bai Hu was handed a sword, he charged like a storm. With immense strength, he cleaved through wooden pillars like slicing through bamboo, causing a section of the building to collapse. As he prepared to land the final blow, a shadow swept past like a ghost. It was Tuo Tuo, Prince Qing's personal assassin. Though not as strong as Bai Hu, she possessed stealth skills and phantom-like agility. Moving as lightly as drifting clouds, Bai Hu unleashed his full power, but before he could touch her robe, she struck fatally with ruthless precision. Though not present, Than Long felt the fall of his most trusted comrades. In a single night, he lost everything. Gravely wounded and pursued, Than Long had no strength left to resist. The only choice he had was to flee and uncover the truth before it was too late. Elsewhere in the capital, the Qiao escort agency faced ruin. Master Qiao Ying was distributing final wages as the agency collapsed under debt. Just then, Than Long arrived. He requested an escort out of the capital. Knowing the agency had disbanded, he offered 300 taels of silver up front and promised another 300 upon safe delivery. The sum was enough to revive their business, so they agreed. To evade city patrols, they disguised themselves as a bridal convoy, with Qiao Ying's daughter, Qiao Hua, in the sedan. Fanlong hid in the back compartment. With cunning and bribes, they slipped out of the capital undetected. Once safe, they rested and prepared a meal. But just then, a gang of bandits appeared. Their leader demanded 80 taels to let them pass. Outraged at seeing her father bullied, Qiao Hua stepped forward to confront them. But before the leader could react, a chicken bone struck him square in the face. The henchmen were also taken down one by one as chicken and duck bones flew through the air like bullets. Fanlong stepped out calmly, chewing on a chicken drumstick, then suddenly unleashed a powerful palm strike that took down the leader. He gently lifted his robe to reveal the emblem of the Imperial Guards on his waist. The gang leader turned pale. Stammering for mercy, he quickly led his men to flee in panic. Fanlong's swift punishment of the bandits not only earned the gratitude of the entire escort agency, but also their deep admiration for his extraordinary martial arts. Especially Qiao Hua, the daughter of the agency's master, who at first glance showed both defiance and curiosity toward this mysterious traveler. However, the joy didn't last long. The captured bandits were soon handed over to the Imperial Guards and sentenced. Before execution, the gang leader confessed he had seen the emblem of the Imperial Guards on a man's waist. On the road, Cuvin's carriage convoy stopped near a cemetery. A large tree blocked the path, an ominous sign. The old man signaled to halt and carefully had the tree moved aside. Right then, dozens of Imperial Guards rushed out from the forest and swiftly subdued the convoy. They moved to open the carriage doors, but the moment the doors opened, a volley of arrows shot out, striking down the first wave. Suddenly, from the branches above, Fanlong appeared. Without giving the enemy a chance to react, he struck like a nightmare, his black figure darting between the trees. A few guards tried to shoot him from behind, but were stopped by Qiao Hua and the escort members. The two fought in perfect coordination, taking down enemies one after another. Just when it seemed the battle was over, a coffin nearby burst open. An old man with silver hair and beard sprang out, his movements incredibly swift and refined. He launched a flurry of attacks, forcing Fanlong on the defensive. But after a few exchanges, Fanlong regained control, launching precise and deadly strikes. Despite his infamous reputation, the old man was ultimately defeated. His lifeless body lay among the dry leaves, taking his martial prowess and ambition to the grave ahead of time. After the battle, Fanlong captured a guard for interrogation. The man revealed the mastermind was Huin Vu, a former sworn brother, along with a female assassin known as the Elusive Blade, a trusted subordinate of Prince Kang. Fanlong wasn't surprised, he had always known. Huin Vu's ambition knew no bounds. Before releasing the guard, Fanlong coldly warned, "Tell that hypocritical eunuch not to push too far." At this point, Kyovin and his group finally learned the truth. Fanlong, once a top Imperial Guard, was now a wanted fugitive. The old man planned to return the payment and retreat. But Fanlong wouldn't let them leave so easily. He took Qiao Hua as a hostage and gave his conditions. "You'll head east, spread false news about me to throw them off. Qiao Hua and I will go west. If you do as told, you'll meet her again at the designated spot. If not, all you'll receive is her corpse." With no other choice, the old man tearfully handed over his daughter. Leading the escort in the opposite direction, they were torn between gratitude, fear, and a faint hope that this cold assassin might still have a heart. Fanlong and Qiao Hua rode west. After a long journey, they stopped at a roadside tavern. After a hearty meal, they realized they were broke. Fanlong pulled out his Imperial Guard emblem, now worthless. Without hesitation, he left it with the tavern owner as a keepsake. He and Qiao Hua resumed their journey. That night, they camped in the forest. Qiao Hua felt uneasy, just the two of them, man and woman, alone in the woods. She feared he might take advantage. But her fear proved unfounded. Fanlong protected her like a loyal bodyguard, even offering his only cloak to keep her warm. Though she misunderstood and hit him with a stick, he said nothing and kept watch through the night. After that night, Qiao Hua began to see that the man wanted across the land was not the cruel villain he was made out to be. Behind those cold eyes was a righteous, honorable heart. She started to develop feelings for him. As they traveled, her affection grew, evident in every loving glance. Fan Long, too, felt drawn to the pure-hearted girl, but burdened by vengeance, he dared not speak his heart. Upon reaching the Yanmen Pass amidst a crowd, Fan Long spotted the guard he once spared. His presence could only mean one thing. He was delivering a secret message. Fan Long quickly devised a plan. He handed Qiu Hua a sealed letter. Find someone named Gating Trung. Give this to him. Cover your face. Do not reveal your identity. Qiu Hua obeyed. At the mere mention of Gating Trung, people inside turned their eyes toward her. Upon opening the letter, they read just a few words. I am Imperial Guard Fan Long. Instantly, the crowd surrounded her. With her face covered, they mistook her for the real Fan Long and tried to capture her. Only then did she realize she was bait. Hurt and disheartened, surrounded like prey, she steeled herself. She shouted and pretended to be Fan Long, scolding them to buy time. Meanwhile, in a corner, Fan Long was tracking the guard who had just dropped a letter into a box. Once the man left, Fan Long quietly approached and discovered the plan. The message detailed a betrayal. Gating Trung would sell out the 3 departments on the 12th. With this knowledge, Fan Long rushed back to rescue Qiu Hua, who was trapped. They broke through the encirclement and fled up a hill. From the summit, using a spyglass, Fan Long saw a caravan approaching. Though hurt by being used, Qiu Hua silently lent her help. She walked toward the group of fake victims lying on the road. As one of them helped her up, she quickly stole his badge. From afar, Fan Long watched with both concern for her safety and the growing suspicion that someone was secretly tailing him. When Qiu Hua returned, Fan Long was furious at her for acting on her own, but upon seeing her determined gaze, he simply took her hand and ordered, "From now on, you're not to leave my side. Not even a step." Outwardly, Qiu Hua was annoyed, but inside, she was overwhelmed by a joy she couldn't explain. They reached an inn and had just taken their seats when a group of bandits burst in. The leader tossed a bag of silver onto the table, claiming the entire inn. Terrified, the patrons scattered. Only the 2 of them remained. The leader tossed a coin into the air and said, "When it hits the ground, your life ends." Without another word, the duel began. At first, Fan Long gave his young opponent the upper hand, letting him unleash his strikes freely. Thinking he could defeat the best of the Imperial Guards, the youth grew arrogant. But in their rematch, Fan Long took out a bowl, spun it on the ground, and declared, "When this stops spinning, you'll fall," with just 3 swift and decisive kicks. As promised, Fan Long brought his foe to his knees. Though defeated, the young man remained defiant. Drawing his sword to fight again, he was surprised when Fan Long didn't retaliate. Confused, he asked why. Calmly, Fan Long replied he hadn't come to fight. He revealed the Tibetans were transporting 10,000 taels of gold, and he knew they were the bandits' true target. Fan Long proposed a partnership. Once the job was done, the gold would be theirs. For the first time, a man came to rob and refused the loot. Suspicious, the bandits hesitated. Fan Long drew his sword, sliced through a pillar, and coldly declared, "If I fail, I'll end myself. What I seek isn't gold, but the honor of a betrayed Imperial Guard." Hearing this, the bandit leader agreed to retreat and await Fan Long's signal. Once they left, Fan Long kept his word, giving Qiu Hua 300 taels of silver and asking her to leave by morning. Qiu Hua, believing she had been used and discarded, stormed off that night without taking the money. Little did she know, Fan Long did it all to protect her. He knew he'd be walking into a deadly battle the next day and didn't want her caught in the crossfire. That night, Fan Long drank alone at the inn. Just then, a female assassin from the western regions appeared. They both knew each other's intent. When fireworks lit up the sky and the crowd rushed outside, the 2 engaged in a fierce close-quarters fight. The top Imperial Guard against the top assassin of the West. Evenly matched, the inn was reduced to rubble in moments. Unable to gain the upper hand, the assassin used her invisibility technique, sending Fan Long crashing to the floor. But he quickly discerned her movement pattern, held off on counterattacking, and focused on observation. When she paused, he chose to retreat, vowing to settle things another day. Meanwhile, at Yanmen Pass, a eunuch secretly met with the chief aide of Prince Khan. They intended to exchange 10,000 taels of gold for the royal seal. As the deal neared completion, the aide demanded to revise the late emperor's decree. The eunuch firmly refused, but before he could act, He was betrayed by Huyen Vu, the imperial guard he trusted. It turned out Huyen Vu had long been bought by the prince. While the traitors fought over the prize, Thanlong quietly infiltrated the scene and witnessed everything. When the eunuch was killed, Thanlong fired a signal flare. The bandits charged in. From afar, the leader aimed his bow at the decorative lanterns surrounding the area, actually disguised explosives. The moment the flames touched, massive explosions rocked the area, sending the soldiers into chaos. Seizing the moment, the bandit leader led his men straight into Yanmen Pass. Dozens of Imperial guards rushed to block the entrance, but the leader unsheathed his dual-bladed sword. He spun through the air like a whirlwind. As the sword returned to his hands, all the Imperial guards had fallen. Inside the secret chamber, Huyen Vu had just seized the royal seal. But his triumph was short-lived. He froze when he saw Thanlong standing before him. No one knew how Thanlong had slipped in. Huyen Vu panicked and fled. But realizing escape was impossible, he stopped and stammered excuses, claiming everyone had dreams. "Serving the prince is my ideal," he said. "You've killed people too," he sneered. "So what if I betray a few brothers in the Imperial Guard? We're the same. Why do you have the right to hunt me?" Thanlong turned aside and replied, "Killing that man was a lifelong pain I'll never forget. That's why I can't let another brother follow the same path." But Huyen Vu scoffed. To him, power and ambition meant everything. He'd rather die than give them up. Without another word, they plunged into a brutal duel. As they clashed, the bandit leader stormed in, taking out the Imperial chief aide. After an intense fight, Huyen Vu realized he was no match for Thanlong. Taking advantage of a brief lapse in vigilance, he suddenly hurled the Imperial seal into the air and used that moment to leap through the window and escape. Inside, the battle raged on between Do Yi and the bandit leader. Though young, the leader's martial skills were clearly superior. After only a few moves, he overwhelmed Do Yi. When the dust settled, Thanlong kept his word. He took only the Imperial seal, leaving all the gold and silver to the bandits. The leader, for the first time, encountered someone who cared nothing for treasure. He couldn't help but admire the courageous and honorable man before him. As Thanlong was about to leave, a female assassin from the western region suddenly appeared, lashing her whip toward him. He dodged in time, but the assassin fled on horseback, taking Kyohua with her. Seeing the woman he loved being taken, Thanlong couldn't stand by. He immediately gave chase. The assassin declared that unless Thanlong handed over the Imperial seal, she would kill Kyohua. Kyohua believed Thanlong would never trade something he risked his life for just to save an ordinary girl like her. But she was wrong. Without hesitation, Thanlong threw her the Imperial seal, then swiftly seized the carriage and rescued Kyohua. Though worried for Thanlong, Kyohua felt immense happiness, knowing the man she loved was willing to sacrifice everything to protect her. Meanwhile, the bandits, having secured the gold, didn't withdraw. They sensed Thanlong was in danger and learned that the prince's forces were approaching the city. The leader pieced everything together and realized Thanlong was risking his life for the fate of the nation. Though outlaws, they respected loyalty and made their own choice. As for Thanlong, after delivering Kyohua to safety, he quietly left at night, determined to reclaim the Imperial seal. Yet he hadn't gone far when he unexpectedly encountered Kyohua again. She said retrieving the Imperial seal was no longer just his task. It was a mission for all of them, the entire escort agency. Seeing these people, who though not highly skilled in martial arts, were willing to fight and die beside him, deeply moved Thanlong. In the past, every mission had been a solitary endeavor. But now he had companions. Whatever the outcome, the coming battle would be worth any sacrifice. Their immediate goal was to recover the Imperial seal at all costs. If it fell into the prince's hands, he could mobilize the army, plunging the kingdom into bloodshed and chaos. Currently, the seal was with the assassin from the western region. She was heading to deliver it to the prince and would have to pass through the ancient city of Tianlan. The prince would likely send troops to escort her. Thus, they needed to lure and divide the enemy forces for a successful assault. The ancient city of Tianlan was a treacherous maze. Fortunately, old man Kyo Vin, a former local guide, knew a shortcut to get them ahead of the enemy, so they devised a plan. First, Fan Long would ride ahead to block the escape route into Huin Vu. Seeing him, the enemy would realize retreat wasn't an option and be forced to split up. Huin Vu led a force to pursue Fan Long, while the assassin went another way. Meanwhile, Fan Long lured Huin Vu and his men deep into the traps of the ancient city. The enemies split up to search. When they reached a narrow canyon, Fan Long ambushed them from above with explosives, engulfing the area in smoke and chaos. Unable to distinguish friend from foe, the enemy fell into disarray and began shooting at each other. Fan Long and his allies dropped rocks from above, inflicting heavy casualties. By the time Huin Vu realized it was a trap, it was too late. Surrounded and blocked by Fan Long, Huin Vu knew escape was impossible. They launched a desperate charge but were quickly defeated. Fan Long struck Huin Vu with his sword. Knowing there was no way out, Huin Vu surrendered and handed over the imperial seal. Seeing his apparent remorse, Fan Long was about to spare him, but when he turned his back, Huin Vu suddenly attacked. Fan Long was forced to kill him with a decisive blow. He then entrusted everything to old Kieu Vin and went to find Kieu Hoa. She had lured the assassin far away, but was eventually caught. Knowing she couldn't win, Kieu Hoa stood still, ready to face death. Just as the assassin was about to strike, the bandit leader appeared, intercepting the blow. A fierce battle erupted. Though tough and brave, the bandit leader was no match for a professional Western assassin. Knowing death was near, he urged Kieu Hoa to flee. After she escaped, the battle intensified. Ultimately, the assassin killed him with 2 throwing knives. When Kieu Hoa returned and reunited with Fan Long, only she had made it back. Seeing that, everyone understood. The young hero had fallen. Though they weren't close, he had sacrificed everything for Fan Long's cause. This deeply touched Fan Long. With the imperial seal now in hand, he didn't continue the journey with the group. Instead, he gave the treasure to Kieu Hoa, instructing her and the team to deliver it to General Tay, the only trustworthy commander left. As for him, he would stay to finish things with the assassin. He knew if she wasn't eliminated, the country would never be safe, even with the seal. Their farewell could be the last. They no longer hid their feelings. Fan Long promised Kieu Hoa that if she ever rang the bracelet he gave her, no matter where he was, he would come to her side. As Kieu Hoa departed, Fan Long headed to the abandoned temple he had chosen for his final battle. The assassin had been lured there. The doors slammed shut. Without a word, the assassin struck like a phantom, her blade tearing through the air. Fan Long unleashed the water dragon dance, gentle as a breeze drifting through clouds, yet relentless like deep-sea currents. Sword and blade intertwined in a deadly dance, the clash of metal echoing through the ruins, mingling with the howling wind and the ghostly footsteps of the past. The abandoned temple had now become a blood-soaked execution ground. Both bore deep wounds, on their bodies and in their souls, but neither blade could rest while the other still drew breath. Fan Long tried to lure Tat Tua into a trap to lock her down, but she had already sensed his plan. She countered with a fierce strike, turning the tide and injuring him just as she prepared to leave. Yet Fan Long rose again, unleashing one final flurry of attacks. He allowed Tot Tot to pierce his body. But just when she thought she had won, he seized her tightly and, with a kick, triggered the hidden weapon box. 3 flying darts shot out, piercing them both. They collapsed together, a tragic ending for 2 souls long lost in hatred and darkness. Meanwhile, Kieu Hoa had fulfilled her mission. The imperial seal was safely delivered and the prince's treacherous plot exposed. He was forced to commit suicide. The loyal minister Trung Liet was reinstated. The king awakened from his delusion, and peace returned to the land. Only old Kieu Vin didn't survive, and Fan Long, the silent hero, vanished once more. Yet life carried on. Kieu Hoa took up her father's legacy, waiting for a miracle. Each morning, she gently rang the bell on her wrist, the token he once gave her. And then one day, from the glowing horizon, Fan Long truly returned. Perhaps, in the journey ahead, they would finally live freely, far from killing, schemes, ambition, and power. This moment marked the end of the film Lost Already. What did you think of the movie? Leave a comment and let me know. If you enjoyed it, please give a like and subscribe to the channel so I can make more videos for you. Thank you so much, and see you next time.